Hey everyone, my name is Shay, and today I'm going to show you how to web scrape some financial data using Python and a package called Selenium. And then once we have that data, we're going to load it into Tableau and mess around with it a little bit to set up the framework for our next video. And in that video, I'm going to leverage our code from this video to set up a system that's going to allow us to get some potentially good stocks to short using real-time stock data every day, completely automated, completely free. Okay, so here is our final finished code. If you want to look at this, you're welcome to. I'm going to have it posted in my GitHub, and I'll leave a link down in the description for this. Cool, so let's head over to Visual Studio Code and talk about the prerequisites and what we're going to learn today. So all you need to follow along is an installation of Python, and I can link to a video that's going to show you how to do that. But really, everything else we were going to do today, I'll cover the setup and everything. So what you learned today, we're going to talk about virtual environments. We're going to talk about pip, Selenium, and web scraping, some shortcuts in Visual Studio Code. You're going to learn a little bit about Pandas. You're going to learn quite a bit about Python, and you're even going to learn a little bit about some stocks and what it's called a form for. So guys, I'm super excited about this video. I absolutely love doing this kind of thing and sharing this knowledge with you guys. So if you learned something today, please help me out and hit that like button on YouTube. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments on YouTube or Reddit. I got a lot of positive response on my last video, and seeing you guys learn from my videos honestly makes me so happy. Alright, so with that being said, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a file called insider.py. Okay, and after this, the first thing I want to do is talk to you guys a little bit about virtual environments. Now, virtual environments are just a way for me to manage packages for specific projects. So if I would need something for a project, I want to be able to install it and not have it mess up the rest of my computer. It's only available when I'm in that virtual environment. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is copy my path to this folder. I'm going to head over to my command prompt, and then I'm going to make this full screen. And we're going to cd for change directory and then paste that path in. And now I'm in the folder where my Python file is. And what I'm going to do here is type in Python. Now Python must be in your path for this to work. So if you installed Python like I said earlier, it should be in your path. You should be ready to go. Python and then -m for module. And then the module is going to be called venv, V-E-N-V, virtual environment. And then I'm going to give it a name, and let's just call it insider venv. All right, I'm going to hit enter. This is going to run. It's going to take a little bit, but this is essentially just going to set up a way for me to install packages and keep them local here. Okay, so our virtual environment has been created, and we can test this by typing in dir for directory, and we see right here insider venv has been created. So how to actually access this thing? Well, I need to do this. I need to type in insider venv slash scripts slash activate dot bat. And when I do this, you'll see that it says insider venv and these parentheses over here, and this is how I know that I'm located inside this virtual environment. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pip. And pip is a way for me to install packages, and it stands for pip installs Python or pip installs packages. Now, what that means, if I type in pip list here, it's going to tell me all the packages I have held within this environment. Take a little bit for it to load, but there really shouldn't be many. Yeah, you see we just have pip and setup tools, and that's it. So now, let me show you in contrast. If I hit deactivate, this will take me out of this virtual environment. And then I can type in pip list, and we're going to see a long list of packages that are installed on my actual local machine. Yeah, a lot. Alright, so to get back into that virtual environment, I'm going to hit the up arrow a couple times. Yeah, here we go. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do here is pip install pandas. Okay, now while that runs, pandas down here. This is like a way, so there's pandas data frames, and it's a way for me to kind of manipulate data and format data. Okay, it's super useful, very easy to use, and we're going to get a little bit of experience with it today. Okay, so it's installing the packages. Great. All right, so while that's running, let's go and I'm going to show you this website called Insider Arbitrage. Okay, and this is the website that we're going to be web scraping today. And I'm going to go over here to insider transactions, insider selling. Okay. And there's one more thing I want to do here. For some reason, come on, load, brother. All right. So this website is actually a mobile view right now, and I don't really know why, but there's a way to get to the desktop version of this, and I found this, there's a link earlier, but it's question mark desk equals yes. And it should be pretty much the same table, but this is necessary for something we're about to do. All right, so this website is basically just a table of all the times when an insider buys or sells stock in a company that they own. So an insider consists of directors and officers of the company, like a CEO, a CFO, as well as any shareholders that own 10% of more of the outstanding stock of that company. And whenever they buy or sell stock and they're an insider, they have to fill out this thing called a Form 4. So this Form 4 is just what insiders fill out when they buy or sell stock. And then once they fill out that Form 4, that becomes public knowledge. And luckily, the guys over at Insider Arbitrage have created this wonderful site that gives us that information pretty much up to date. So you can see I'm recording this at 12:23, and we have some that was already bought today, right? 12:23, the TWNK, they bought 57,000 shares at a cost of $14.49. So this is the data I'm going to be web scraping today, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So head back over here. Yeah, we see that Pandas was installed. And now I need to install what is called a Chrome driver. And let's type in Chrome driver here. And this is necessary for Selenium. Okay, so a Chrome driver is just a type of web driver, and it allows Selenium to work in an automated browser. So it just essentially gives me a way to make some code, type some code that'll go into my browser and manipulate it for me. And Selenium is a web scraping package. Alright, so back over here on Chrome driver, we'll hit this landing page, and here's some versions available for download. Now there's Chrome driver 79, Chrome driver 80. I don't know which one I am on, so what I need to do is type in whatismybrowser.com. And at the very top, we'll see your web browser is Chrome 79. Alright, beautiful. So with that knowledge, I'm going to download Chrome 79, and I'm going to download the Windows version, and that's going to load. I'm going to open it up, click extract here at the top, extract all, and we're going to put this into my C drive, ready right here. Yeah, video space. Yeah, good. And extract it. Okay, great. So now we have our Chrome driver over here, which is great. And what I need to do now is get the path to that Chrome driver. So if I right click on Chrome driver like usual, I don't get an option on here. It says copy. But a really cool trick is that if you hold down shift and then right click, this becomes copy as path. And I'll click copy as path. I don't think that was there before. Yeah, it was pinned to taskbar before or something, I don't know. And now that I copied it as path, I can come back into Visual Studio, and in my Python file, I'll just paste that right here. And now that is how I access that Chrome driver. Okay, and then one more thing we're going to do is come back here to this insider arbitrage, and we're going to grab this URL. Okay, so URL equals this, and Chrome driver, let's call it Chrome path equals this. All right, great. So now we have our Chrome driver ready to go. We have our URL. The next thing we need to do is install Selenium. So over here, we're in our virtual environment still. Pip install Selenium. Really simple. And this will take a couple seconds to run, hopefully not too long. All right, and with that, we can go ahead and really get started with this. So the first thing I want to do is come over here to this arbitrage website and start figuring out how this data is structured on this web page. So to do that, I'm going to use a trick called Control-Shift-I, and that will open up these developer tools in Chrome. Now another way to access this is to right click and inspect. You see Control-Shift-I. Okay, and now if I hit this tiny little thing up here, it's like an arrow in a box, I can click on it, and then anywhere I scroll over on this web page, it'll show me over here the underlying HTML and the actual like text. So I see the symbol TWNK, I want to know where it is. I click on it, and we see right here it says TWNK. It's hidden in this A tag, which is underneath this table, which is underneath this larger table. Okay, so that's really useful. Make sure Selenium is installed. Okay, Selenium has been installed, so now if I do pip list, we should see, yeah, we got Pandas and Selenium, and then to help those, that also installed a couple of other things for us. So now back in our Python file, we can now import Selenium, and then, or sorry, from Selenium, let's import WebDriver. Okay, great. So now we have our Chrome path, we have our URL, and then in between these, I'm going to write driver equals WebDriver dot Chrome, and then I'm going to pass in that Chrome path right there. Chrome path, great. And then finally, I'm going to add in driver dot close. And one more thing before that, I need to tell the driver to go out and get this URL. So I'm going to save this, come back over here, and make sure I dir directory, yeah, all right, Python insider.py. And when I run this, hopefully what happens is a browser will pop up. Yeah, so Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. And it takes me right to this web page. Really cool. All right, so I'm going to exit out of this. And I'm going to get a little error message here, but that's fine. And now we can start actually scraping that data. So back over here in my Chrome browser, the first thing I want to grab is this TWNK. So if I select that element, come over here, we got it. All right, I'm going to right click right here and copy. I'm going to copy X path. Now, an X path, where is that at? X path is like, think of it as like a URL, or it's like just a way to identify some area of a web page. Okay, so let's look what that looks like. This XPath over here looks like this, right? It looks really complicated, but essentially all you need to know is that this is like the underlying HTML hypertext markup language structure of that web page, and in this element, that's where that TXML, or sorry, TWNK is held. So in order to get that, what I need to do is, let's call this ticker path, because that's where the ticker is. And let's put this into 3 quotations. And that will tell Python that anything aside here is just part of the string, because right here I have these single quotes right here, or double quotes. So if I were to just do one quote, it wouldn't work because it thinks that this is my string, it doesn't know what this is, and then my next string starts here. But if I put it in triple quotes, then it interprets this as just one big string. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to do is ticker equals driver dot find element by xpath, and then I'm going to give it ticker path as that xpath. Okay, and then finally what I'm going to do is print that ticker dot text, and I'm going to also print ticker so you can see what that looks like. Okay, everything looks good here. Let's run this. So what it's going to do is open up a browser, and then it's going to go and find that XPath, find that element, and then return me the text within inside that element. And then it's going to close out because I typed in that driver.close function. Okay, yeah, so the first thing we did was we printed the ticker, which is this element, and we can see selenium.webdriver, blah, 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 web element. So here's the element, and then the text inside that element is TWNK. All right, that's great. That's what we wanted. Okay, so now one problem that kind of keeps coming up is that it kind of takes a long time to open up that browser and load up the actual screen you have to process, the actual browser itself. And it'd be really great if we could just give Selenium some commands and then it could do all that in the background. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So below this, I'm going to type from Selenium. There we go. .webdriver, .chrome, .options, import options. And now this will allow me to change up the way that Selenium interacts with that WebDriver. And so beneath my Chrome path now, I can type in Chrome options equals this instance of options. And then I'm going to add an argument to Chrome options called headless. Okay, and headless right here, it just runs the background, or sorry, runs the browser in the background, which is going to be really helpful for us later on. And now I'm going to talk about actually timing all this. So there's a thing in Python called datetime, and what we can do is we can import, or from datetime, import datetime, and then let's declare a variable called start time, and that equals datetime dot now. So what time is it right now? And then at the very end, we want to have an end time, right? End time equals datetime dot now. So what time is it now at the very end of the script minus that start time. Okay, and right here I'm going to introduce you to what is called an F string. So an F string is just a way to format a string. So if I were to run this right now, it would just print out some arbitrary number here, but I don't have anything to kind of tell me where that number came from. So what I can do is, once again, we're going to put all this in triple quotes. And then we're going to put an F in front of this, and that declares it as an F string. And now I can do things like this. I can type in like execution time, and then put a little space here. And then I'll put this calculation in curly brackets, like this. And then, yeah, I think that should be it. So now whenever it prints out, it'll say execution time, and then beside that, it'll tell me how long it took for the script to execute. And I'm not going to keep this as a variable. I'm actually just going to print that f string. Okay, so that was a lot, but what we did there, just to recap, we made our Chrome driver headless, so now it runs in the background, and then it prints me the execution time, how long it took for that script to run. So let's go back, let's run this one more time. I think I did one thing wrong there. So it opened it up again, and the reason why is because in my driver where I declared the Chrome path, I need to add another argument here, and it is options equals Chrome options right here. Options equals Chrome options, and then also we're going to put another argument in here called keep alive, and we're going to set that equal to false. And then that will allow us to get rid of this driver.close line down here. So what that did, it just finally added that option that we created up here to our driver, and then it tells us that after you're done or you error or whatever, just get rid of the browser, don't keep it open. Okay, so now this should run pretty nicely. All right, and while that's running, I'm gonna get a couple like weird messages here, but I don't really know what those are. So I need to figure out a way to keep parsing through this information. So I see that this TWNK, I already got the XPath for that. I know how to grab that. But this one is in a different location. So if I right click and copy that XPath, we're going to see what that looks like. Yeah, so what just happened there, it gave me some messages from the console itself, which is like on the web browser side. I don't really know why that came back, but we can see the execution time was 17 seconds to run that script. And I didn't print out the XPath or didn't print out the ticker in this one. So remember what I just did? I came over here, I grabbed this XPath, and I went back to Visual Studio Code, and let's look at this one. Let's just paste it below it. Okay, so we see the only difference is it's the exact same except for this right here. It says TR is 4 rather than 2. Or sorry, yeah, TR is 4, so the row is 4 versus 2. So back over here, we see that first row, second row, which is where that first one was, third row, fourth row. So that's going to allow us to iterate through all those rows and grab the ticker every single time. Now, one more thing to note here is that even though the XPath includes this A tag, it's not necessary to grab that text. So I'm actually going to remove that from these two XPaths. And here we go. So now my goal for this next little segment is just to get a list of every single ticker within that table. So here's how we're going to do that. We're going to say for I in range 2 through, and we need to figure out what the very last XPath is, the very last table, or the very last one in this table is. If I scroll down and I click here, right click, copy XPath, and I just paste it right here. Okay, 101. So that table has 101 rows. So for I in range 2 through 102. And let me show you what this does. Right here, I'm going to comment out everything else. So to comment in Visual Studio Code, you hit Control and backslash, and the same thing here, Control backslash. So for I in range 2 through 102, print I. Okay, this will run really fast. Yeah, so it just prints the numbers 1 through 1 less than your last number you put in. So we see it prints 1, or sorry, it prints 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth, until 1 before that last 102 number. Okay, cool, so that's good to know. Let me uncomment everything. Control Shift Home, Control backslash, there we go. Okay, so for I in range 2 through 102, The ticker path is going to be the row. We're going to make this into an F string again, and then we're going to add a curly bracket here and pass in I. So the first time that this runs, what it'll do is it'll go through and it'll put a 2 in here. And so it'll grab that first ticker. And then the second time it runs, it'll put a 3 in there, and then the 4, then the 5, then the 6. And eventually it'll go through every single row in that table. So what I need to do is, then after I get that ticker, I need to make a list up here. Let's just call it ticker list equals empty brackets. That's how you declare a list in Python. And what I'm going to do here is ticker list dot append, and then I'm going to do ticker dot text. So for every row in this table, go grab the ticker, find that element, and then add that add that name of that stock to this ticker list. Okay, and then finally I'm going to print ticker list to show you what that looks like when it's all done. Okay, so we're getting pretty close here. This should work. It'll start up, run in the background. Nice, nice. This is all things that are coming back on their end. Maybe one of you guys know why this is happening. If you do, that'd be great. I would love to know. So let this run. It shouldn't take too long. Yeah, great. So now we have a list of every single ticker on this web page. And it took 20 seconds to get all that information. So if I go back here, the very last ticker should be SYY. SYY, there it is. Great. Okay, now the rest of this is really simple. We just need to keep grabbing more information from this table. So I'm going to grab the relationship. I don't care who the owner is. I want to know what the relationship is to the company, because if a CEO sells, it's probably more important than just some random director. I want to know the date that it happened. I want to know the cost. I want to know the number of shares. I can calculate the value in Tableau, so that'll be fast. And then I want to know how many shares they have now. Okay, cool. So the next thing I need to know, I have all these symbols, or all the ticker symbols. I need to get these relationships. So let's look at what that looks like. Oh, and one thing I should point out here, Visual Studio Code has more options like ticker equals driver dot find, and we see all these different ones, element by class name, by tag name, by CSS selector. But unfortunately, the way that this table is structured, there's not really many class names. So if I were to select this element right here, in this like row, there's not a class, so it's just a simple a tag and then just some text. So I don't really like have a great way to call it. So I have to actually use the XPath and build that out, and that's why I did all that. But it's useful because you can use that on literally any single element just by using the XPath. So let's grab this, see what it looks like, copy XPath, and paste it over here. I'm just going to put it underneath here to compare it. Okay, and just like we kind of suspected, this 2 is the same as that first one. It's the second row, and then this D stands for like column, so it's the fourth column over. All right, and we go back and check that. 1, 2, 3, yeah, the relationship's in the fourth column. So that's really good information and pretty simple. So now I need to figure out how many things I have. So I want to get the relationship, that's 1, 2, the cost is 3, number of shares is 4, and then the total shares will be 5. Yeah, so I need 5 different things. And what I'm going to do here is here's a little shortcut you can do in Visual Studio Code. If you don't want to highlight this and then copy it, you just click on the line, you can hit Control C and it copies that line. And I'm going to copy this 5 more times. 1, oh, well, that's disappointing. 1, 2, 3, 4. sorry, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I'm going to name these accordingly. So the first one is going to be the relationship. And I'm going to go and um, get rid of this print statement here. Another little shortcut here, if I want to just delete this without having like backspace through it all, right, I can just do Control X and it'll cut it for me. So it just cuts it completely. All right, and I also need to copy these. So Control C, and then I need to copy these 5 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this first one is going to be the relationship. So I'm going to change this from ticker list to relationship. And then an even cooler thing in Visual Studio Code, I can highlight this ticker. Actually, first I'm going to copy relationship. I can highlight ticker here, and then I can hit Control D, and it will select the next instance where ticker comes up. So Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D, and then finally Control V, and it will change all those to relationship. Okay, and then that was in the fourth row, sorry, the fourth column. All right, and then we need the date, the cost, number of shares, and those are the next 3. So date, whoops, cost, shares, and then the last one is the shares held. So just keep repeating that process. Control C, right here, Control D, 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 Control V. All right, Control. Okay, great. So we have our variables renamed now, which is super cool. The next thing we need to do is go through this XPath and change with the columns. So this is in the fourth one. This next one was in the fifth column. The cost was in the sixth column. The shares that they bought was in the seventh column. And then the shares held is in the ninth column. All right, so whenever we run this, we will have a list of everything within this table that we need. So all of our data collection is done. So I'm not going to run this just because it's going to take a little bit of time. But let's keep moving forward. So the next thing we need to do is make all of these lists over here into a list of lists. So I have lists with all that information. I need to combine it into one list. And how we do that is like this. We're going to create a variable that's called all_info. And all_info equals a list. And then we're going to zip together these names. So we're going to zip together this ticker list. We're going to zip together list. Okay, cool. So zip that, and boom, there we go. Let's make this a little bit more readable. Oh, dude, one thing I forgot to do, Zen mode. So Zen mode in Visual Studio Code, so we already did multi-line select Zen mode. It lets you zone out. Come on, zone out in your code. And what that means is this. If I hit Control K and then Z, it gets rid of that thing on the side so I can see my code a little bit better. Okay, so all info. Okay, good. We can read that now. Very nice. So now all info is just going to be a list of all those lists before. And I'm actually going to print this now so you can see that. So print all info. I'm going to print some new lines. In Python, the new line is \n, and I'm just going to do this because I want to kind of separate those messages versus where my data actually starts. So let's run this, cue the montage now. Okay, so we're back. That took 53 seconds to run, but as you can see here, kind of maybe we have a big list and a zip together. This first row is going to be that That first row, second row, the third row, the fourth row. I misspoke earlier. I said it prints a list of lists, but it's actually not. It's just a list of tuples, and each tuple is like one element of that row. Okay, so we're almost done here. The next thing we're going to do is now start talking about pandas a little bit. Oh, and also that new line character, it printed these like lines right here. Alright, so let's get rid of this, get rid of this. Now pandas. To get pandas, we're going to do uh, right here at the top, import pandas as PD. So not anytime we need to reference pandas, we can just call it PD. Oh, what is that? That's strange. Okay, so now we're going to create a data frame, and we're going to call it df for data frame equals pd dot data frame. Wait, why is it not giving me pd dot? Okay, well it doesn't want to load them, but pd dot data frame, and then we're going to pass in our data, so all info, and then we're going to pass in the columns of our data. So columns equals, and the first column is going to be the ticker. The second column is going to be the position or the relationship to the company. The third column is going to be the date that the shares were sold. The fourth column will be the share cost. The fifth will be the shares sold. And then finally, we have the shares held. Okay, and then I'm going to close that out with a parenthesis, which it is already. Very nice. And I've created this data frame. And finally, the last thing we need to do is take that data frame and dot to a CSV. And let's call this CSV insider dot CSV. And we're going to pass in this argument called index equals false. And the reason why I did that is because usually a data frame would have the very first uh, column is the index column, and then it would populate 1 through however long your data is with like 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I don't want that, so index equals false. We'll get rid of that. So this should be the last thing that we do here. I'm going to get out of Zen mode now. Control KZ. Control KZ. Alright, and so now when I run this, you should see over here a CSV file pop up. So cue the montage. Okay, and we're back. So that took a little over a minute to run, and that's great. So now if we look over here, we should see insider.csv, and inside of here, we have our row, and we have the actual data beneath that. Very, very cool. Okay, now let's load this into Tableau. Come into Tableau, connect to a file, more, insider.csv, open that up. We can look at all of our data here. Okay, so this is a string or like a text field, this is a date, that's good. These should be numbers. Okay, everything's nice. Alright, so sheet 1, I'm going to do just a simple visualization here. I'm going to get the ticker on the rows, and then let's calculate the total, so the total amount of money that they spent, that they sold. So analysis, create a calculated field, total spent, and this is just going to be the sum of the share cost times the sum of the shares sold. Okay, that works. Total spent. Now we can put this in our columns, and then let's sort descending. Okay, very cool. And then let's actually add this to our label as well. And a little bit more, let's make this, let's see here what I want to do here. Let's put it on the left side. And very cool. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see the numbers now. That didn't turn out to be great. So what can we do instead? I don't know. I don't know. I think this is fine. So we see how much they spent, and now this will set us up very nicely for our next video. And in that video, I'm going to use another package called Pandas Data Reader, and that's going to allow me to get some real-time stock information. And then I'm going to add that to this list, and then create a dashboard that I can just refresh every day, and it'll give me some good stocks to short. Wow, that was a lot, guys. So I hope you learned a lot. Let's go back here, make sure I didn't miss anything. So we talked about virtual environments, how to create those, how to activate them, how to deactivate them. We talked about pip, we talked about Selenium, WebDrivers, XPath, yeah, headless browsers, inspect element, VS Code shortcuts, that multi-line select. We talked about the copying of a line. We talked about how you can delete a line really fast. We created data frame in Pandas. We converted it to CSV. Talked about f strings. We timed the script itself. Did some basic list functions, and then you even learned a little bit about stocks today. So, guys, thanks for sticking it out, and hopefully you learned something today. If you could subscribe, that would be really helpful, and that way you don't miss out on the next part of the series. So, with that being said, I hope you have a wonderful day. Merry Christmas to all of you. It's the holidays right now, and hopefully the next video I'll have my mic situation figured out. I'm at home for the holidays right now, and so my mic is not the one I usually use. So next time it should sound a lot better. I'll have a camera for some cool montages. And yeah, have a great day.